How's it going, everybody? Bam, back. And just like I promised last night in the YouTube short, today we're going to be taking a look at my top 25 players, inspired, of course, by Johnny Boy, T-Bates, CJ, Roll Diz, Yummy, and all those guys that do this pretty regularly on Twitch. So shout out to all of them for doing it. And yeah, now I'm going to present my top 25 players in the world. So let's jump right into it. Top 25 players in the world post the Rocket League World Championship for the season. And of course, as always, we are sponsored by the subscribe button. Be sure to subscribe down below if you enjoy the content and you want to see more, and click that bell icon so you get notified whenever I go live, whenever I upload a video. Let's jump right into it. It's so hard for me to narrow it down to 25. So much like I did for the Winter Major, I think it was the Fall Major actually. Much like I did for that, I had to have some honorable mentions. So our honorable mentions: we've got Itachi from Carmine Corp, Banana Head from Kansas City Pioneers, Torsauce from Team Power, Shawset from Semper, and Cash actually from Misfits. So I should note Shawset is now LFT, and I believe Cash is also LFT, but the other three are on those same rosters. You're not going to get me to make a top players list without Torsauce. I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen. He might be an honorable mention every time, but you're not going to catch me making a list without him. So yeah, those are the honorable mentions. Cash would probably be Cash or Shawset, or Itachi would probably be the one right on the outside of the top 25. But yeah, I just had to include some honorable mentions because it's so hard to narrow down 25 players. But we did the best we could. So players 25 through 21, couple of players in here that I didn't see mentioned a lot, if at all, in Johnny Boy's stream last night. The two that probably stand out the most are Aqua and Drees. Aqua, I think, is the best player on Rogue by a landslide over Taroko and Gyro. I think if they make a roster move to better that team, I don't know what it would be, but I really think if they make a roster move to better that team, Aqua is going to really unleash this upcoming season. I think that kid's got just as high of a ceiling, if not higher, than Daniel, who of course had Reddles and Arsenal, which is a much better duo. But Aqua, man, the kid is special. Just keep an eye out. And Drees, he was the best player on Optic Gaming at every single LAN. He was the best player on G2 when they went to that LAN, the Fall Major. Drees continues to be underrated by every single person that I see make any sort of list. Drees has to be at least an honorable mention at this point. The kid's young. He's got a bright future. Optic Gaming, of course, they're losing Mist, so we'll have to see what the future holds for them moving forward. But Drees, keep underrating him, man, because he's going to keep proving everybody wrong. And he's going to keep showing up and showing out. Lost and Calm, two guys that were pretty common on the lists. I think they're just on the edge of that top 20. And then Oski and Team Liquid, that team's going to be real scary. It was very hard to leave off a Chronic and who's the third player for Team Liquid. But man, those kids, much like Aqua and Drees, those guys are real special. They're going to have a great season upcoming. I will say that for the time being, for the current 25, I left off players that really haven't seen much action. So like Nupo in the Middle East, I left him off. He could very well be in this list, after one split next year and stuff like that. So if there's anybody that's new coming in that was like borderline RLCS or wasn't really RLCS, for the most part, I left those guys out. But you can see a couple of interesting guys here. Moving on, top 20, Card from Furia, Justin, Daniel, Ahmad, and AJ. This is when you start to get, again, it's so hard to narrow down top 20. These guys are the best of the best basically already, and there's just so many top tier players that it's so hard to narrow down. But you can see there, Justin, the only player from NRG that's going to make it here. I don't know what's going on with NRG. I don't know if they need to make a roster move, if they need to, if this break in this offseason is just what they needed to, chill out for a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what's going on, but they kind of fell off there towards the end. Justin, I still think has it. He had that incredible goal against version 1 that I believe was their only goal or one of 2 goals of that entire series. So I think he's still got it. So he's good enough to make the list here, but the rest of NRG really struggling. Daniel, it was really hard to rate the space station guys, just because Arsenal was sick, so it's really hard to gauge where he's at as of the most recent events, which is what I use most of the time just to see how you're consistently performing. And nothing against Arsenal and Reynolds. Those guys obviously very talented in their own right. But I just think Daniel's got the higher ceiling right now, and so, maybe a little bit of speculation on my part leaving those guys off and putting Daniel all the way up at 18. But again, this kid's special, just like Aqua, just like Oski. Kid's got a real bright future. Ahmad and AJ need no explanations. They're right on the cusp here of the top 15. But speaking of the top 15, Archie, maybe a little bit of a controversial one, maybe not. I think Archie's got a super high ceiling. He could be top 5 in the world very easily with a good team around him. Endpoint, just again, they basically got to where they were because of Seiko, who we'll see later in the list. And then Archie wasn't necessarily a downgrade from Seiko, but it just threw everything off, that roster change. Because he got Semper to where they were, and Seiko got Endpoint to where they were. So then when they made that change, it just threw off everything Endpoint had, and it sucked to see Metza and Relating Waves struggle as much as they did. But I think Archie, best player on that team, carried him as much as he could anyway, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I think he's also LFT. I believe Team Endpoint dropped their whole team, so I believe he's also LFT at the moment, but have him listed here as Team Endpoint Extra. It's really hard to rate Extra because of how good Monkey Moon and Seiko are. I have him at 14. You could have him top 10. You could have him 20th. It's really hard for me to rate Extra. So I kind of split the difference between those two and went with 14 here. Maybe that's a little bit of a cop-out. Maybe not. But again, really hard to rate him, as well as guys like Joyo, because again, all the guys on Moist are so good that it's really hard to rate how good they are. So again, just throwing him here at 13. And then Astral, best player on K-Corp, in my opinion. He's just super mechanical. Again, Astral, much like a guy like Archie, you could easily make an argument for him being top 5 when he's at his peak. I think Astral, super high ceiling. K-Corp really turned it up there at the towards the end of the season in spring and at the World Championship. You could argue they were the second or third best team on that final day, on that Championship Sunday, and a large part of that was because of Astral. And then obviously, I had to include all of my guys on G2. JNAP's coming in at number 11. The G2 guys are real interesting because they're all very similar in that it doesn't ever really feel like one of them is carrying. Because if one of them's carrying, they're probably not playing very well. Like you saw, Atomic carried them a little bit at the Winter Major, and they ended up winning that. But it doesn't, to me, seem like Atomic... Because Atomic has to be that guy off of the other two. And JNAPS has to be that guy off of the other two. And Chicago has to be that guy off of the other two. It's not like Seiko in the grand final for BDS. It's not like JNAPS just does everything or Atomic just does everything. Like they're all working together. They're all being a team. So speaking of them being a team here, we got Chicago at 10 and Atomic at 8. It's just so hard to rate those guys. Just because, again, they're all so similar. You saw Joyo was there at, 13, Rise is at 9. So, again, just very hard to rate those guys. They're all just super talented. TRK, the best player, I think, on Team Falcons, comes in at 7. And First Killer, one of the best in the world, one of the best in North America, coming in at number 6. Not a whole lot to talk about here. Again, just G2 and Moist going back and forth again, like they always do in my rankings. But so we did all of them in groups of 5 here. We'll do 5 through 1 individually. Coming in at number 5, Beast Mode from V1. I really wanted to put Beast Mode higher, but version 1 just has trouble scoring at times, and I feel like a lot of that is not because of Beast Mode, but it's on his shoulders to do that. Because, if Com's going up to get a demo, he's got to beat one guy. Is he capable of doing it? Most of the time, yeah, he is. But we saw at the World Championship, V1 just had a lot of trouble scoring at times. And so I really wanted to put Beast Mode higher, but I couldn't go any higher than 5 because of the 4 guys ahead of him. Number 4, Yan on Furia. Yan, definitely top 5 at the moment. I think he's very solidly in that group. You saw the game winner against Moist. He kept them in that series, got him the game tying goal, got him the game winning goal, and series winning goal. And, I mean, man, he had a hell of a World Championship. He got a lot of people to follow Furia and follow himself and Card and Kaio. moving forward. So I expect him to stay up here at the top for quite a while here. But not quite enough to move into the top 3. And of course, had to have Monkey Moon here in the top 3. You can probably guess who the last 2 are, but we'll wait and see how they're ordered. Monkey Moon, Team BDS, won the World Championship. Monkey Moon and Seiko, definitely the 2 sort of carries on that team. Extra definitely showed up when he needed to, but man, Monkey Moon's just so consistent. He doesn't have to do anything mechanical. He's always positioned in the right spot. He's always making the right play. Man's got 500 IQ every time he's on the ball. And he's a very large part as to why BDS won the World Championship. Number 2, Vatira on Moist. Rise has the clutch factor, Joyo has the freestyle factor, and Vatira just has the dog in him. I mean, he makes the backline saves, he gets the flip resets, he gets the bumps on the front line, he makes the right passes. He just does everything for Moist. And that's not to say that Rise and Joyo, like I said, don't do anything. But Vatira just does all of it to hold that team together, to be the glue that makes Moist click. Doesn't make any sense, but that's just how it is. Vatira does so much for that team, but he's not enough to be number 1. Seiko was the best player of the Grand Finals, was the best player of the whole World Championship for Team BDS. It's a little hard for me to put him 1 just because they did have that struggle, but they put that behind them. They won 2 of the 3 spring splits, didn't do well at the spring major. They said, you know what, we're done sucking. Let's go win the World Championship. And they brought in Seiko and went and did it. So Seiko is going to be my number 1 player on the planet right now. Again, I think those top 4 or 5, you could put them in close to any order. I do think Seiko deserves to be number 1. But let me know what you guys think down below. Did I forget anybody from the list? Did I over or underrate somebody that's in the list? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, be sure to click that thumbs up button, drop a like if you enjoyed it. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.